Hey everybody, this is my 29-gallon miscellaneous tank, and I just did a water change on it tonight. Did a simple filter change. I wiped down the glass, and now we're just going to have a simple little look at it. If you'll notice down there in that cichlid stone in the bottom right hand corner, you'll see that little nose sticking out. That is one of my striated botias, or zebra loaches, and I've got 5 of them in there now. I think I bought 6 originally, and one of them died after a few years, but I should still have 5 of the zebra loaches in there. And if you'll look, I don't know how well it's coming out on camera, it seems a little dark, but right under that piece of wood right there, full focus, you can see a little bit of my clown pleco, and that is what's responsible for keeping this tank so beautifully clean. You can see how nice and cleared off all of the leaves are on my Anubias. This Anubias is doing fantastic. I'm really happy with the way this is taking off. It struggled a little at first when I put it in here, but as you can see, it is now doing great. I've even got a little flower on there. Now, the flowers won't actually go into full bloom underwater, but we will have something close. It'll open up and you'll get to see what would be the flower were it above the water surface and we were, looking at an emergent plant. I'm having trouble with my focus here for some reason, don't know why. But other than that, not a lot going on in this tank. I did have the 2 angelfish in here not too long ago. The really big one that is in my 55-gallon gourami tank right next to us. That used to be in this tank. And between that one and this one, it was just way too much angelfish for a 29-gallon tank. And this one in particular was a little bit bullied by the other one. It wasn't terrible, but it was bad enough that I would come down and there would be some days where this angelfish here was lying more or less on its side underneath the rocks over here. And whenever you've got that level of aggression where you've got an angelfish that's actually lying on its side, underneath the rocks and things, that's pretty serious. That's significant enough that it's time to do something. And so I did. I moved the bigger angelfish into this tank here to our left. And that is the angelfish in question. So again, not a lot going on, not a lot to talk about with this tank. It's just one of my oldest tanks. It's been just ticking over without issue for year after year. Not all the fish in there are that old. The angelfish is, I don't know, maybe a year in this tank, something like that. The long fin skirt tetras are probably less than a year. That blue skirt tetra you see there, that is a glowfish. I got that way back in my early days, and that is actually one of my earliest original fish, and it's still alive in this tank. And then the striated bodias, which we can see occasionally, they'll make a little appearance down there on the bottom. They're pretty skittish though. Those are some pretty old fish. I've had them since the beginning when I first set this tank up about, I don't know, I guess 6 years ago now. So some of the fish in there are way back originals and some of them are newer, but the tank itself has been running for about 6 or 7 years now, and it hasn't really changed in all that time. I've got the same filter on it, the same landscape, the same decor, everything. The only thing you could call new would be this Anubias, which got put in there maybe 2 years ago, year and a half ago, something like that. I don't know. It's been a long time, but that's the newest addition to the tank, other than the odd fish here and there. Like I said, I added that little school of longfin black skirt tetras in there not too long ago, and then I put the 2 angelfish in there when I lost my original angelfish a couple of years ago maybe, and as they grew up, we just heard the story. This one grew up to be this one, and the other one grew up to be that bully that is now over in my gourami tank. So, like I said, not a lot to talk about, but I do want to spend a little bit of time having a look at this tank. It's just one of my, I won't call it my neglected tanks, because I actually do spend a fair amount of time enjoying it and looking at it. I just don't do a lot with it. I don't do a lot of video about it. I don't talk about it very much. I don't do water changes on it very often. It just kind of sits here. It's just, I don't know, I've had it for so long that I just don't think about it a lot. Earlier I was actually thinking about, I had someone comment one time when I made a statement about how this tank was fairly neglected. I do plenty of water changes on my other tanks around the room, but this one is just one of those tanks that I just don't really do water changes on it. And they were scolding me and telling me, what a terrible fish keeper I am. If I know I've got this tank sitting here, I should be doing these water changes on it, and so on and so forth. And, this tank has been running without issue for so many years now. I really suspect that if I got in there and started doing weekly water changes, I'd probably start running into issues. I'd probably start having cloudy water and fish dying, and this is one of them if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of scenarios. I always have crystal clear water. I never have any issues with my fish. Well, I can't say never. I've had fish die, and I've had the rare oddity pop up where I've had fish die for, inexplicable reasons and stuff like that. But that happens, pretty much anywhere at any time. You just never know when something like that's going to happen. So I'm not going to, attribute that to my poor husbandry in this tank. Again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. This tank's just been ticking over like a machine year after year, and I'm just going to keep treating it the same way I've been treating it because it seems to be doing a pretty fine job. So that's about it. Just wanted to do a quick look at this tank. As I keep saying, nothing really to talk about. I just did a water change and wiped down the glass, so everybody's got some nice fresh water. I will say that there's an unusual phenomena in this tank that for about every third time I have to change the filters, and I do change the filters every time I do a water change on this tank. It's the hang on the back filters, and of course they're really super easy to change the filter pads, so while the water's draining, that just takes a moment to go ahead and change the filters out. But about every third time I do that, I've got to pull my biofilters out of there and really scrub them out because they get so clogged so quickly that no matter if I've got fresh filters in there or not, I will get the overflow or the backflow from the filters. These Tetra Whisper series filters, which I really like, and I actually even recommend these. I'll put a link down below to this very filter. Again, it's been running for year after year after year, and it's still virtually silent. But when the filters start getting too clogged up, you'll actually get backflow that'll run through this center portion. This is for a 60-gallon tank. I always try to go double size for this 29-gallon tank. I have a size 60-gallon filter here, and when the filters get too clogged, as I keep saying, you'll get the backflow will come through that center section, and a lot of times I will get that backflow happening not because the filters are clogged, but because, well, not because of the mechanical filters, the filter pads, but because the biofilters are so gunked up with stuff that the water doesn't flow through there anymore. So I've got to get in there and do that fairly often, and tonight was one of those nights. So in addition to my filter change, I also scrubbed out that biofilter a little bit. Now, I didn't beat it to death. You don't want to wring it out. You don't want to run it in bleachy water or, hot scalding water. You just want to give it a nice little rinse off in non-chlorinated water. It is your biofilter, so you don't want to put it in anything that's going to kill anything. I simply rinsed it off in the water that was draining out of the tank in the other room. I just held it underneath the siphon hose and let it rinse and, gave it a little wring and a squeeze and got the bulk of the crud out of it. But you leave it dirty. You don't want to wring that thing out till it looks new. That is where your biomaterial lives. You want the water to be able to flow through it, but you want it to look all dirty and grungy and whatnot. Again, that is where all your biomaterial, well, not all of it. There's enough living in the tank that, you've got a little bit of backup if you've got a nice, busy tank like this. If you've got a bare glass bottom tank, then that biofilter is basically all you've got, and you need to rely on that and treat it properly. So there you go. I'm going to call that good and say that's the end of this video. It's nearly 10 minutes long. I don't know how I did that one. This was supposed to be about a 3-minute video looking at a tank with nothing more than a simple water change, but here we are 10 minutes in. So thanks again for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure you're subscribed, and don't forget, of course, this one is my 29-gallon miscellaneous tank. So thanks again. I'll see you real soon in the next one.